How you doing? Happy Valentine's Day. Want to hear about some haunted love stories? Me too. These are actually pretty sad, and I'm not going to go into like graphic details, but if you're not in the mood for that kind of stuff, scroll along. Let's start with Anna. She is one of the ghosts of the 1790s inn in Savannah, Georgia. Now this was back in the early 1800s. Anna was said to be the bride of an arranged marriage, but she ended up falling in love with a sailor. Now supposedly when the man that Anna fell in love with left, took off on his ship, Anna supposedly threw herself from the third floor balcony into the brick courtyard down below. I say supposedly because there's also a rumor that says it could have been the man that she was said to marry who gave her a little push. Now if you ever want to go and stay there, she is in room 204. Tell her I sent you. Just kidding. But some guests have experienced things like covers being moved, feeling nudged when they're in bed, things mysteriously moving, jewelry, clothing, things like that. She is supposed to be more of a friendly, playful spirit. If you're looking for a little spookier, a little creepier, you can try Emily's Bridge in Vermont. The legend has it that Emily was in love with a boy who her parents did not approve of. So Emily and said boy had decided that they were going to run away together. However, when Emily went to meet this boy at the Goldbrook Bridge, he never showed up. Now it is said that Emily was so heartbroken and distraught by this boy not showing up that she actually, using the rope that she had tied her belongings up with and packed and brought with her. So people actually report hearing banging, screaming, ropes tightening, the sound of ropes tightening on this bridge. Hope you all have a better Valentine's Day than these poor souls.
I told you that the bricks that were inside the garage where the St. Valentine's Day massacre occurred are said to be cursed. Welcome to the Ghost Guy Files. On the morning of February 14th, 1929, 7 men associated with the Bugs Moran gang were brutally murdered in a garage in Chicago by 2 mysterious men and 2 more dressed as cops. It is widely believed that the hit was ordered by notorious gangster Al Capone, even though he had a rock-solid alibi. And to this day, it's still considered a mystery. The garage was torn down in 1967, and before long, those bricks became hot items for souvenir hunters. But before too long, they would regret taking them home. Before too long, reports came flooding in of weird occurrences happening to those who took the bricks. Stuff ranging from paranormal activity inside of their homes, to violent illnesses, financial trouble, and even terrible accidents. You can actually visit some of the bricks inside the Mob Museum in Las Vegas, but be warned, for some people who have actually visited the wall say they have heard machine gun fire and men screaming and moaning coming from the bricks. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
I've been told this by several different people. I believe it for that reason and for a few others. This is the story. When my grandma left my abusive grandpa many years before I was born, she moved herself and 2 of her 3 daughters, my mom and my aunt, into a new house. My aunt met a guy and they started dating. He was what you would call a greaser, hot rod driving, leather jacket wearing, grease back hair kind of dude. This would have been the early 70s. Most nights he would park down the street and walk to her bedroom window, tap on it, and she would let him in. Her bedroom was at the back of the house and the driveway was gravel. It ran past my mom's bedroom. My mom told me that every time he did this, she would hear his boots crunching in the gravel as he walked by. They would do whatever they did, and then he'd climb back out the window and leave. Eventually, my aunt met the man who would become my uncle. They're still married, and she broke things off with the guy. He didn't take it well. One night, he stopped by and tapped on the window. She let him in, and they talked for over an hour. Then he left. Shortly after, the phone rang in the living room, and she went out to answer it. Her friend was on the other end, sobbing. She told my aunt that he had unalived himself. He had been driving around in his hot rod with a buddy, drinking liquor and shooting mailboxes. They pulled into a convenience store parking lot, and he pew-pewed himself in the face, unaliving himself. My aunt said that is impossible. He just left her house. She looked up and saw him standing outside, staring at her through the living room window with red fluid all over his face. She screamed, woke everyone in the house, and he disappeared. My aunt told them that night what had happened. That was the only time she ever spoke about it. I've asked her a couple of times to tell me herself, but she wouldn't. My grandma and my mom eventually told me about it years later at different times. From then on, my mom would hear his boots crunching in the gravel every night, and my aunt would hear him tapping on the window. It got so bad that my aunt begged my mom to switch rooms. They did, and my mom then heard the tapping on the window instead. My grandma also told me they would always find his brand of cigarette butts in the ashtrays, even though he was the only one they knew who smoked them. A few other things happened in that house before they moved. One time, my grandma woke up to find herself an inch from the ceiling. When she screamed, the bed fell back to the floor. Oh, so it was like the whole bed. It wasn't even like just her body. Back in 2008 or so, I happened to deliver pizza to that house. I asked the woman who lived there if anything strange ever happened. She froze. She said the back room window got tapped all the time, as well as knocking on the side door, even though the driveway was paved by then. She heard what sounded like boots on it constantly. Her husband worked nights, so he didn't believe her or the kids, but she said almost every night something happened there. This guy is forever walking up that driveway and tapping on the aunt's window. And how crazy that the new family was like, actually, something does happen, and they report tapping on the window.
Did you know a Valentine's dinner reservation was made by a dead man? Restaurant Lemoyne, Paris, 2018. A reservation for two under David Laurent for Valentine's night. He arrived alone, ordered for two, left the second seat empty. He paid, left a note. She'll come next year. Waiters thought he was heartbroken. 1 year later, same reservation. David showed up. This time, a woman sat across from him, pale, silent, wet hair. Staff said she looked dead. They ate in silence. When staff checked, both seats were empty. David Laurent died in a car crash in 2017. His fiancée drowned, both on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day was banned by England in 1635. Its origins of turning goats into whips are suspect to say the least, and it's no coincidence people eat hearts on Valentine's Day. Chocolate ones, of course. You see, Valentine's Day isn't just about roses, chocolates, and love letters. No, that's just what they tell you. It started as a pagan fertility festival, one deeply rooted in ancient rituals of lust, control, and primal human impulses. Its origins trace back to the Greek festival Lycaia, which then led to the Roman festival Lupercalia. Each day was dedicated to their gods, Lycaeus, Pan, Zeus, Faunus, Lupercus, and Lupa. These gods were worshipped for their connection to nature, fertility, and the untamed forces of the earth. Pan and Faunus governed the wild, carnal instincts of humanity, while Zeus Lycaeus was associated with the untamable, primal energy of the natural world. During Lupercalia, the Luperci, a group of Roman priests, would gather at the sacred Lupercal cave to perform wild rituals. They began with the sacrifice of goats, followed by anointing themselves with the red stuff I can't mention here. Then they would use the goatskins to whip women in the streets, believing it would promote fertility and protect against infertility. The entire festival was about releasing primal instincts, a chaotic breakdown of societal norms through ecstatic behavior, wild dancing, and intense sexual freedoms. Both festivals involved sacrifices I can't go into detail about, frenzied rituals, and the release of primal instincts. The wildness was a ritualistic necessity, a breakdown of the rigid societal structures that kept human beings from truly connecting with their base, instinctual selves. In the 5th century, Pope Gelasius I, instead of eradicating these practices, Christianized them. He replaced the Roman gods with Saint Valentine, a Christian martyr. Through this shift, the fertility-driven, chaotic celebrations of Lupercalia were sanitized and rebranded as a day of romantic love, morphed into the more commercial version we know today. But let's not be fooled, that original raw energy still lurking under the surface. Fast forward to England in 1635, ever determined to protect their values. They saw Valentine's Day as a celebration of immorality. They banned the holiday outright, seeing it as a day that promoted excessive sexuality and disregard for the sanctity of marriage. In their eyes, the ritualistic excesses of Lupercalia, along with its connection to wild, untamed sexuality, had no place in their society. So, next time you hand someone a card or buy that chocolate heart, just remember, There's far more to Valentine's Day than meets the eye.
Delivers dead flowers every Valentine's Day to the same address. Since 1987, Rosewood Florist delivers wilted black roses to 432 Maple Street, same order. Same time, 11:59 p.m. The house has been abandoned for 30 years. Owner Emma Hartley vanished on Valentine's Day 1987 after receiving flowers from a secret admirer. The order still processes automatically. Payment clears from a closed bank account. Last year, a delivery driver peeked inside. He saw a table set for two, fresh blood on the plates. He quit the next day.
Night before Valentine's Day, and Thomas hated it. Another year, another empty apartment. He slumped onto his couch when a knock echoed. A delivery. No name, just a black velvet box. Inside, a single, perfectly preserved red rose. It smelled faintly of earth and something metallic. A strange start. The next morning, February 14th, another knock. This time, a smaller box wrapped in blood-red ribbon. He opened it nervously. A heart-shaped locket. Engraved on the back were the initials T, S, and E-M. He didn't know an E-M. A shiver ran down his spine. The air felt cold. That evening, the final delivery. The box was large and heavy, taped shut with alarming urgency. Thomas was terrified now. He grabbed the largest kitchen knife and slowly cut the tape. The lid creaked open. Inside, nestled on a bed of shredded black satin, was not a gift, but a memory. A porcelain doll, identical to the one his childhood sweetheart, Emily, had cherished. The doll was missing its right hand. Attached to the doll's neck was a note, written in shaky red ink. "You never forgot me, Thomas. I'm coming home. Save me a dance." Below the note, something else. A small, dried-up human finger, wearing a tiny silver ring. The same ring he'd given Emily on their last Valentine's Day decades ago. The box wasn't a gift. It was a warning. And the metallic smell from the first rose? Iron. A low scraping sound came from the hallway. The front door was slowly, agonizingly being pushed open. On the polished wood floor, a dark, viscous trail was visible. Thomas dropped the knife. The trail ended right at his feet.
Welcome back to Haunted Hearts. This is part 5 and the final episode of True Love Ghost Stories, where love defies time and death. Saint Valentine is a name that we all associate with love and romance. But did you know that the true story behind the saint is actually filled with darkness and sacrifice? Saint Valentine was a priest in Rome during the reign of Emperor Claudius II. At the time, the emperor had just put a ban on all marriages, claiming that single men made better soldiers. But Valentine, moved by the plight of young lovers, decided to continue to secretly marry people, defying the emperor's decree. Unfortunately, Valentine's actions were discovered, and he was arrested, imprisoned, and sentenced to death. While in prison, Valentine is said to have healed the jailer's daughter, and ultimately the two became very close friends. The day before his execution, he wrote her a letter signing it, "From your Valentine," which is a phrase we all know and use today. Valentine was executed on February 14th, 269 AD. His martyrdom for love made him a symbol of devotion, and he was later canonized by the Catholic Church. But what happened after his death is where the hauntings began. According to some reports, the ghost of St. Valentine still roams the earth today, visiting lovers and giving them blessings of true love. In particular, on the night of February 14th, his presence can be felt in places where young couples gather. Really, he's just there to offer guidance and protection to those that are devoted to each other. Some say that his figure can be seen holding a rose, a reminder of his sacrifice and dedication to love. Visitors to his shrine in Terni, Italy, have claimed to see a hooded figure standing quietly at the altar, admiring all the loving couples.
The couple went on a romantic Valentine's date, but never came back. On February 12, 1971, college students Patricia Mann and Jesse McBain attended a Valentine's Day dance. When Patricia failed to make the 1 a.m. curfew, dorm staff reported her missing. But of course, the police said that because it was Valentine's Day week and they didn't need to be worried. Their friends decided to search a nearby Lover's Lane and found Jesse's car. It was locked and wiped of fingerprints. 12 days later, a surveyor was walking in a wooded area and found a pile of leaves at the base of a tree. And sticking out were the feet of Patricia and Jesse. The couple had been bound and tied to a tree by their necks. Evidence showed that the rope around their necks had been repeatedly tightened and loosened, meaning that the killer brought them to the edge of death and then loosened the ropes and waited for them to gain consciousness again. There were multiple stab wounds in their chests made with a small object, and Patricia had a ruptured liver, which was likely from a hard punch to the abdomen. As you can see, Jesse was a very big and athletic guy, so people wonder if there was one person that took advantage of this couple while they were in their car, or maybe if there were multiple involved. However, if the person had a firearm and they were threatening the life of Patricia, then Jesse might have complied. Another creepy detail is that somebody posing as Jesse's dad called the hospital where Patricia had interned asking if Jesse was a patient there. This was on the same night that they went missing, and if you remember, there wasn't any danger known until 1 a.m. when Patricia didn't come home. What was supposed to be a romantic night turned into one of the most chilling unsolved murders in North Carolina history. In present day, modern forensic techniques are being used to try to extract DNA from the rope used to tie the couple. As for theories, the fact that this couple was attacked on Valentine's Day weekend on a lover's lane I think says a lot about the killer. I think they were probably a lonely incel or even somebody obsessed with Patricia. Someone could have followed them from the dance, or they were stalking Lover's Lane waiting to find a couple to attack. Because if you don't know what a Lover's Lane is a place where couples will park their car so they can have intimate time.
The thing you heard is I asked the monster, "Will you be my Valentine?" I am absolutely terrified. I open my eyes, but I don't see the monster because I'm looking down at the chocolates and I just see this nasty hand. And by nasty, I don't mean dirty. I mean like creepy. Like this thing was not human. And I just hear, "I'll be back next Valentine's Day." My heart feels like it's beating out of my chest at this point. I go to look up at the monster and it's gone. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I mean, who would believe me anyways? I skipped school for the next 2 days and I'm pretty sure all of my friends thought that I died. Every year since, I've made sure that I have a date for Valentine's Day. As I've gotten older, every single year on Valentine's Day, I hear those heartbeats. And every single year it gets louder. This is the first year since that Valentine's Day that I haven't asked anyone to be my Valentine. Well, I don't have a Valentine this year. If the monster does show up, this time I'll open my eyes.
Something in here wakes you up during the night wanting sex with you. Have you heard of incubus haunting?